Hello and welcome back to another episode. Now today I want to share with you another one of my favourite books, and this book is up there with the Richard Scarry book, it's up there with the Usborne puzzle books, and I am talking about Stephen Biesty's Cross Sections Castle. This book it combines so many of the things which I'm personally interested in and have always been interested in. And as a child, I consumed this book. This book I basically if it had been a videotape, I would have walked it, because I read it so much. But I suppose the reason why I'm sharing it is I want to try and share something of the atmosphere of the book with you. And so if you're at all interested in castles or intricate drawings or history or just a really good, dense little world, then this is the book for you. Anyway, let's take a look. So here we go, Stephen Biesty's Cross Sections Castle, a truly gorgeous book, one of my favourites, and really this book kind of epitomises a theme, or a couple of themes that have come about when I talk about my favourite books. And the first thing is that I love a good picture book, whether the pictures are gorgeously accurate to the minute detail, in the case of, for example, Cross Sections Castle, whether they are stylistically evocative, as in, for example, Puzzle Island, or perhaps Henry's Quest, this kind of thing, or whether they're just interesting. I love a good picture book, but more than that, I also love a good puzzle book. So my love of Usborne puzzle books in particular attests to that. And this book actually combines those two elements plus an extra one thrown in, and that is my love of history. So in so many ways, this book is one of my most treasured books, and you can tell this, from the condition of the book. It's seen slightly better days. The dust jacket is a little bit worn and sort of it's been exposed to sun on the edges there on the bookshelf. It's a bit yellowed, and you can really see at the back of the book where this stuff here and here. It's it's seen better days, but that's just because I love this book so much. And I was actually genuinely, truly obsessed with this book for quite a long time. And I think part of that is because I grew up in North Wales, where, castles, you can't avoid castles in North Wales, they're very important. But also partly because this book is so detailed, and it also has this puzzle element here. They need to find the spy. Memorandum, the 12th day of May, on the 28th year of our good King Edward III, Lord of the Castle doth proclaim a warrant for the arrest of an enemy spy. You need to try and find the spy on every page, and basically what you do is you end up sort of tracking the spy as he enters the castle and as he eventually leaves. This book also actually tells the story of a castle under siege. So we actually start out with the castle is here. Here's the town, very much like Conwy Castle, not too far from where I grew up, and here's an army coming to attack the castle. And as the book sort of progresses, the castle goes initially into sort of lockdown. You can see here everyone's running in, going, quick, escape, get into the castle. And then the siege begins. We can see here that the armies come through. They've destroyed the town. They've laid waste to all these sort of the wooden defences here. They've actually slaughtered a few people here, blimey. And now the castle is locked down. Right from the very beginning, the story is apparent, and the book is sort of hooking you in with that story. And as the story is being told, so for example here, again, people are sort of quickly preparing for battle. They're coming through little details like the cargo falling off the wagon here. Someone's dropped the barrel into the river. This guy's going, come on, hurry up, quick, get inside. And here we can see that the spy is making his way into the castle, inside the haystack there, inside the hay wagon. But so you have the narrative, but you also have this plethora of information telling you about, for example, here the key features of the castle: the moat, the wall, the gatehouse, the bailey, the wells, and the keep. And as you progress, as I say, the story unfolds, but also so do the different features of the castle. Here we have all about defence and siege, and just look at the detail here. Picking a quarrel. Arrows or crossbows were called quarrels, or bolts. The garrison stored them in barrels ready for immediate use. This kind of thing. My sort of, my child's brain, frankly my brain now, absolutely loved picking up little bits of, information, tidbits like that, but also just seeing how everything worked, and in particular, for example, when it came to, for example, uh, the wonderful Richard Scarry, I really appreciated in his work how he paid close attention to process, and this also comes through in Stephen Biesty's work. Here we have the battle is over and they're retrieving the dead from the moat here. But in terms of that this element of process, we have everything, you know, carefully drawn out. We have the fires and where the smoke escapes through the chimneys. We have the toilet here and how the toilet sort of empties out into the moat. At least it should do. Here actually we've had some people trying to climb up inside the toilet to get inside the castle as part of the siege. It says here, a slippery climb. Invaders desperate to get inside the castle even tried clambering up the latrine shaft. This approach broke the siege of Chateau Gaillard on the River Seine in France in 1204. Interesting. We have here a description of the feudal system. We have the king, the barons, the knights, the freemen, and then the villains, the sort of the regular people. And it is, and also make no mistake, it is details like the toilets. Like for example, here we have a gong farmer. This the smelly job. Emptying the latrine pit was unpleasant, an unhealthy task. The unfortunate worker had to no, with the bucket and spade was called the gong farmer. He's there sort of emptying out the poo pits. So if it didn't empty out into the moat, it emptied out into a little pit. Yeah, and that sort of stuff. Obviously, as a kid, you can't get enough of that. Oh, actually, can we see the spy anywhere? Is the spy anywhere to be seen? Ooh. There he is. He's hiding behind the doorway. Listening in on someone's conversation, possibly. And and that's the other thing as well, is that you know, because there's no speech bubbles and there's no story narrative. In that sense, there's a visual narrative, but there's no written story. You can actually also make up your own story as you go. This book was just awesome, and this book is just awesome. We have the masons. Now they're repairing the castle following the siege. We have the bits of stone being winched up. We have all these different masonry tools. The fact that the castles were lime washed often, so they'd be actually painted bright white, which is something that people often forget about medieval castles. License to crenellate. You need a license from the king in order to be able to put up these sort of crenellations, these defensive elements to your buildings, because if you did that illegally, you might be trying to sort of overthrow the king, and obviously he didn't want that. It's just a wonderful way of learning. Oh, here you go, lime washing the castle. There you go. So it looks like they haven't coloured the castle in there, but actually that's what you do. You wash it with lime. How to make chainmail. The ale conner. This is the guy testing the purity of beer. The job of the ale conner. He poured a pool of ale onto a wooden bench and sat in it. The ale passed the test if half an hour later his trousers were not stuck to the bench. If they were stuck to the bench, there's too much sugar in the beer and it needs to mature for longer. So hopefully this didn't happen too much, but we got his trousers stuck. Outside we have people digging the next section of the moat, just here, expanding the moat, which is quite funky, having pulled their tunics up from muddy work. And we continue into the keep. Actually, just outside the keep, this is all about trades and skills. So actually, we have cloth dyeing, we have beer making, we have grain, flour production. We have the chainmail, the armourer going on there. So again, every single section has a little sort of theme in terms of the life of the castle. Living like a lord, everything about illuminated manuscripts. We have heraldry. We have the life going on inside the castle, private chapels, this kind of thing. And these are actually all features of castles that I look out for today when I visit castles. But also I used to run around like a mad thing in certain castles in North Wales, going, oh look, this is the King's Chapel, quick, and then sort of I'd run to the next, say, oh this is the, and then I actually, when I was about 5 years old, I actually ended up giving people a tour of a place called BIESTY'S Castle in Cheshire, because I'd soaked up so much castle information by the time I was like 5 that, that actually I was able to give up, you know, fairly competent tour of the castle by then. So living like a lord, this is sort of the day-to-day business, and then we have food and feastings. This is in the evening. This is how, you know, how the feast was laid out, special foods, pies and birds and game and fish. Also, you have special cakes, for example, and desserts made out of sugar and sugar sculpture and all this kind of thing. We have here an eel pond in the moat now, so they've been catching eels, and this is obviously feeds into the, no pun intended, feeds into the theme of the pages. We have below the salt. Castle cooks used no salt to season food. Instead, lucky diners helped themselves from a boat-shaped salt cellar. This was placed in front of the Lord, separating him and his family from the guests. The salt became a measure of social status. So, are you below the salt or not? With the baker, we have the kitchens for the castle. The fact that the food's having to be sort of carried up the spiral staircase and then into the great hall. We have the cellar where it's often actually it's called the buttery as well, that's where they get the word butler from. It's like a cool space where food is stored, and the butler would go down to the buttery and get stuff like that. Here you go. This is a sugar ship sculpture being carried through. Really elegant food. But also, I've tried some of these recipes in the past, and they taste kind of funny compared to modern tastes, Entertainment is what came next, and have a whole range of entertainment. We have the classic sort of jousting going on outside the castle at this point. We have inside the castle, we have, for example, people writing poetry for their loved ones. We have people doing crafts in the ladies' room there. We have an alchemist doing his thing. We have people doing bear baiting. We have, oh, there's the spy being chased through the castle along the corridor there. I deliberately haven't been spotting the spy on every page, incidentally. I don't want to ruin this book for people who want to spot the spy as they go. Livestock and produce. So again, taking another step along in terms of the story of the castle and the way it works. And here we actually have this really unfortunate thing about, people often say, because I'm an archaeologist in my day-to-day job, people often say, wouldn't you love to travel back in time at some point? And the answer is no, I really wouldn't, because especially not to the medieval period, not without first of all my shots. I'd need lots of good disease protection, but also the smell. I mean, here we have just rubbish being tipped over the edge and piling up just down there. Yeah, the smell would be something to get over, I think. But again, it's just the details, and it's also the wonderful way in which the artist has sort of he literally lifts up chunks of the roofs, for example, to show you what's going on inside each and every element of the castle, and even the rats are there, and the cat chasing the rats. Everything is in here. Munitions and punishment. This is one of my favourite things: the finger pillory. So basically, you'd be forced to put your finger inside this mechanism, and you'd be trapped there, and people could do all sorts of horrible things to you overnight, as it were. Probably beatings and throwing stuff at you, and worse, I imagine. You could be branded if you were a thief, for example. Different types of arrowhead being used. The fact that actually we also have elements of a preparedness for actually creating things. So, for example, here inside the castle, you have weapons stored. You also have parts for ballistas and trebuchets and this kind of thing, which are literally carried up and then constructed at the top of the castle when they're needed. They're not always sat there. They're just ready to be used. Getting ahead, putting a head on a spike just to warn people. Oh, look who's escaping the castle on the outside. And here we go. This is the end of the book, and it looks like our spy escaped on his horse there. And again, you can see that the siege has been lifted. There's been a bit of damage to the castle. This is obviously the other end of the building, of the site. And that's the story of the story, as it were, of how you progress through the castle, but also the story, I suppose, of why I love this book. It's an ordered and intriguing book, filled with amazing artwork, and I just can't resist returning to it every now and then. And I strongly recommend it. I really do. Hopefully, this has been an interesting exploration of this book for you guys. If you're at all curious about castles, or if you just want to maybe to share your love of castles with someone else, maybe your kids or something, or a friend, get this book and show them it. I don't know how much it goes for on Amazon at the moment, but it can't be that expensive. Surely this book is quite old now, but it's just wonderful. And I used to just spend hours just essentially inhabiting these drawings. I'd be living pretty much inside this castle, just studying each and every room and how you get from place to place. And you know, here's someone drawing water from a well there, almost like on a multi-story sort of. You can draw it from there or there just by pulling on the rope. I would just bathe and bask in all of this information and also all of the drawings. Just a wonderful book, and I can't recommend it more. I really can't. I mean, you know, there are art books like, for example, the Art and Artifacts from Zelda that I got the other day, and you know, and I love looking at those, but I also equally just love looking at and, as I say, sort of mentally inhabiting worlds like this. Simply brilliant. So there you go. This book is and always will be very close to me, both physically and also emotionally. It's a book which the first time I read it, I wasn't really sure what to expect, and the author actually has produced other similar books. For example, there's one he did of a man of war, like a war galleon, like a ship, and that one's, you know, just as cool, just as dense, just as intriguing. But this one, I think because it's a castle and because of my love of castles, it just got me just at the right age, and I've never looked back. It's always been near me. It's always been on my bookshelf, no matter where I am, and I just can't recommend it more. So do check it out if you're at all intrigued. Check this book out, because it won't disappoint you. It certainly hasn't, and frankly, it hasn't disappointed me, but also, frankly, there's always something else to discover. There's always something else waiting to be found in the pages of this book. So check it out if you're at all interested. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.